The best investment in 2025. Now, in my 24 years as an investor, I've found that the simplest way to build wealth is with index funds. In today's video, I'm going to be telling you the number one index fund for 2025. I'll be telling you my index fund, the one that I invest into, and why. But first, I want to tell you why investing into assets is so important. Investing into assets is massively important. Now, let me take you back to 2020. Now, we can all remember 2020, probably because of COVID. It was brutal. Now, I was stuck out in Oman on a project I was working on. I was stuck there for 12 weeks. I couldn't get home. It was brutal. It's the most anxious I've ever felt in my life. Now, during this period, I met many contractors, many older contractors in the late 50s, early 60s. And one of my colleagues at the time was 60 years of age. And he was telling me, having a little whinge about how all his friends had retired in the early 50s or even earlier. And he was full of regrets. And he started telling me about what he could have invested. Now, I was getting into investing seriously at the time, and I didn't even mention anything to him. It was just a conversation. And he said to me, he could have invested £1,000 each month between the age of 40 and 60. Now, if he'd have done this, let's just say he invested in the SP 500, and let's assume he would have got 10% returns on average, and this is based on 100 years of historical data. If he'd done this, if he invested £1,000 every single month for 20 years, he would have ended up with a huge £759,000. Now, this colleague who had no retirement plans at 60, who was full of regret, imagine what he could do with £759,000. This is a huge amount of money. Now, this just demonstrates the power, one, the power of compound interest, and two, how important it is to invest into assets. That could be in the stock market, property, crypto, whatever it is. Please invest. And if you haven't got the money to invest, learn about it. Because I've got a feeling that once you learn how important it is, you'll find the spare money. Like doing overtime, or maybe getting a second job, a bar job, a driving job. Now, I'm not just being blasé. I know the cost of living is very hard in 2025, but I do practice what I preach. Now, any overtime money I get with my job, I put straight into investments. That's how I do it. If I didn't have the opportunity to do overtime, I would get a second job, 100%, because I realized how important it is to invest into assets. The number one investment in 2025. Now, in terms of index funds, the number one investment over the last 5 years, the last 10 years, the last 20 years has been the S&P 500. This is because of the performance. You're getting at least 10% returns on average each year. Now, with the S&P 500, you get an exposure to 500 of the top companies in the US. And the US currently is they have the dollar, which is the global reserve currency. So that's where all the money is. Everyone in the world uses the dollar. And this is why the S&P 500 has performed so well. You get an exposure to companies like Meta, Amazon, Microsoft, Apple, strategy if you want exposure to Bitcoin, if that's what you want to do, if you're a bit high risk. Now, S&P 500, if you want to be simple and you want to get the highest returns, this is where you invest. But I've got a feeling that the US dollar isn't going to be the global reserve currency forever. So this is why I don't just go with the simple option that's going to get you the best returns currently in 2025, the S&P 500. And this leads nicely onto my fund and why I invest into this particular fund. The index fund I invest into and why. Now, when I first got into investing properly, when I took financial education seriously, when I became financially literate, this was 2019. And all the books I was reading pretty much led me to index investing, because I realized I was an emotional investor, like the fact that I lost my life savings back in 2011 by gambling with individual stocks, but that's another story for another video. So all the books I was reading in 2019 eventually led me to investing in index funds. And every book that I read about, and every book seemed to mention how it was so important to keep costs down. So this led me to Vanguard. Now I like Vanguard, the costs are low, it's a simple platform, you're getting good returns on the funds, there are loads of benefits of investing with Vanguard. And when I done my research, I knew I was going to invest into Vanguard. But then it's what fund to invest in with Vanguard. Now, what caught my eye initially was the retirement 2045, 2050. I like these funds. What also caught my eye was the life strategy funds. Life strategy 20, 40, 60 and 100. Now I chose eventually the life strategy 100 fund, and that is 100% stocks. I chose this because yes, it's high risk because it's just stocks, it's 100% stocks, but I knew I was going to invest for the next 20, 25 years so I could ride the inevitable ups and downs of the stock market. I also chose this fund again because of the low costs with a Vanguard fund, and I like the diversification. So with the Life Strategy 100 fund, you get an exposure to over 7,000 companies, much more diversification than the S&P 500. Now, another reason why I didn't just go with the S&P 500 is, again, because I don't think the US dollar is going to be the global reserve currency in years to come. I've got a feeling it might be the Chinese yen or the digital yen, whatever they have. I think China will be the superpower. Now, I'm not a geopolitical, if I can say the word right, I'm not a geopolitical expert or anything, not at all, but I've got a feeling China will be the kiddie going forward. So that's pretty much why I invested in the Life Strategy 100 fund. Now, before I finish the video off, I just want to say that nothing in this video is me dishing out financial advice. Nothing on this channel is financial advice. I'm just literally trying to help you with my experience as an investor. Please, if there's one thing you can take away from this video, is the importance of investing into assets. Now, if you're a beginner and you're not sure how to invest in the stock market with index funds, see below and you're going to get some free resources. You can join my free school community where you're getting access to investing courses. There's 4 or 5 courses for you to get stuck into if you're willing to learn, if you're willing to focus on financial education. You're getting an index investing cheat sheet, and you're also getting the opportunity to do a one-to-one call with myself. Now, I'm not an expert, I'm not a banker, but I have got 24 years of experience. I know what not to do, I know what to do to get the results. And I know how important, as I've said, it is to invest into assets. Don't leave your money in cash, don't put it in a savings account, you've got to invest into assets. Now that just about wraps up the video. If you've taken value from this video, hit the like button and let me know what your favorite way to invest is in the comments. And if you've got any questions, ask in the comments.